My favorite time in a movie theater was, this is on a tangent, but Jurassic World. And all of a sudden the Indominus Rex is backing up to the water. I'm like, he's about to get deep blue sea. He's about to get deep blue sea. And then he does. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, it's weird how many movies have taken from Deep Blue Sea, of all things.
And an influential film.
It's becoming one, and that's hilarious. That's amazing. This is the timeline we deserve to live in.
Welcome to Idiot Block, a comedic podcast critiquing, discussing, and analyzing the media industry through reviews, debates, and historical deep dives.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to an Idiots Together Strong episode of Idiot Plot. I'm David Giannis. Joining me today, as always, are my co-hosts Alex Ovidal.
You stole my quote.
And Justin Neitzel.
Caesar is home.
Yep. Today, we're talking about Planet of the Apes. Matt Reeves, the Batman, is coming out in like a month, a little over a month?
A little bit over.
So we're going to go back and look at some of his earlier works, the films that arguably made him like a superstar, and that's his Apes movies. We're just going to talk about all the Apes prequels and probably some of the original ones too, because it's a big franchise. But let's start off with the first movie and kind of the new ones. Unless you guys want to talk about the OG one first.
I think at some point we'll just have to sneak the OG one in there so we can fight about Charlton Heston.
Well, yeah, eventually, of course, obviously.
Because you're wrong.
Well, I kind of want to start with Rise of the Planet of the Apes because that was like the first Apes movie I saw, just in general.
Yes. And one that to me was unexpected because I literally remember in the lead up to that movie, the trailer was so bad that I was laughing at this movie every time I saw the trailer. And I'm like, this movie's going to be terrible.
I know, especially when you see James Franco in there and some of the lines they put in there. I'm like, man, this just does not look right.
They made it look like the whole movie was like apes break out and apes gonna smash things. Like, this looks terrible. And then suddenly the reviews are out and they're like, this personal tale of what I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I watched it and absolutely loved it. It might, my spicy take that you guys always disagree with, but I still stand by. I think it might be my favorite of the three.
Ooh.
I mean, it's certainly better than War, but give me Dawn every day.
I might give it to Dawn by a little bit, but I just love especially the script for the first one because it's this very personal, more isolated story that has a lot of thematic depth to it, and that's what the original had, and that's what I think all three of these have.
It's such a bizarre case because, like, I agree with you, Alex. Those trailers were atrocious. Like, there was no hype, and I think it didn't even like come out with that much hype. It was like word of mouth. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's great."
That's pretty much how it was. How I got to go to it because, like, all of a sudden, it was my junior or senior year of high school. All of a sudden, people are like talking about this Apes movie. I'm like, that one that looked god awful. You're like, no, it's really good. I'm like, all right. I went in and I was like, they were right.
Because I got it for Christmas for my dad because he, I think, secretly wanted to see it, and so he got it for me so he could watch it. And both of us were like, what the hell? Like, how is that good? How is that so good? And part of it is the script is really good. The script is shockingly good. The visual effects have not aged well at all.
Oh, no. Yeah, they have not.
But the script is still fantastic. I guess the human characters are kind of garbage.
Yeah, the one dude from Harry Potter and then Franco's girlfriend.
Yeah, they're pretty. Franco's pretty good.
He's all right,
I think. And John Lithgow's character's not in it very long, but like he's kind of the core of it, other than Caesar to me anyway.
He's basically kind of like the heart of the movie,
right? And that part works really well. But of course, yeah, Caesar's what makes it work.
I feel like the biggest issue with that movie is that, first off, the cinematography is super flat and it looks like the whole look of the movie isn't great. But I think that's like the director they got, Rupert Wyatt, probably was a wrong choice.
Yeah, I think if, for me, for sure, I think if all three had been directed by Matt Reeves, this would have been my favorite one.
I agree, sure.
Probably, yeah.
Because it probably does have the strongest script of the three.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I don't think it's the most entertaining of the three, but the script is shockingly like personal and character driven. The main character of the whole trilogy, Caesar, is such a good protagonist.
Yeah.
And Andy Serkis. The fact that Andy Serkis didn't get any award cred for those movies is shameful to me.
They're not even a nomination.
Yeah, he deserved it, and really, I'm surprised you look back in the movies themselves didn't get as much as you would think, because it is hard sometimes for the blockbuster ones to break through, but this is kind of one of those ones where you would expect it to break through into more categories like Nolan Batman or something.
Yeah, you would expect it to have more of a shot at visual effects, and at least in Rise's case, you could argue it deserved an adapted screenplay now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what was that year for Rise at the Oscars. I'm pretty sure that 2011, 2012 was a stacked year.
Let's look.
But I mean, I love the movie as much, and Rise is probably my second favorite of the three.
Yeah, War is at the bottom.
War we'll get to in how that hasn't aged the greatest. But Rise is such a solid entry point. People that haven't seen it, we start with this. It's James Franco's a doctor trying to find a cure for Alzheimer's to basically help his dad out. And they test on monkeys. A monkey gets it. She has a kid. She dies. Her kid gets adopted by James Franco's scientist character, and since he was born with it, he's this hyper intelligent ape played by Andy Serkis, and it's basically just the life of Caesar is this first movie. It's him going from James Franco to put into captivity, and kind of how this ape liberation movement starts. It sounds really stupid when you say it on paper because most of the story is through character-driven moments.
Mm-hmm. For the Oscars that year, it was The Descendants, Hugo, The IDs of March, Moneyball, and Tinker Tailor's Soldier Spy.
Yeah, see, Moneyball's going to win, but it should have been up in that category, I think.
I still love Tinker Tailor.
Yeah, I know. That's another really good script. To me, Moneyball's just too good.
But a movie like this wasn't even looked at. Part of it is on Fox's fault. The marketing for this movie was not good. It somehow made a
surprise near the end of oh, wait, what? It's good? And then everybody had to scramble to see it.
Yeah, it made a bunch of money. It made $481 million. It was a big success. And it was kind of ambitious for them to choose because you would think, especially in this era, that they would want a big epic Apes movie right off the bat, and instead we get a smaller scale, kind of slow burnish film.
And I think what kind of helped them risk it, I'm surprised they went back to the series at all, but I think the reason they went with one like that is because of the failure of
the Tim Burton
2001. Yep.
See, now that was my first Planet of the Apes movie I saw. Unfortunately,
it somehow made money, but was garbage, and of course, no one was even going to think about making a sequel to it. I was flipping through channels,
and I was like, "Oh, I've never seen Planet of the Apes. This isn't the one I was supposed to be."
I've watched it on TV, not the whole thing, but I've seen large portions of it. It's so bad.
It's bad.
It looks terrible. It was back when Tim Burton was pulling literally everything, including things he had no business making.
Well, Tim Burton says he never likes the original, but he just wants to make his version of these movies.
Well, it's so the end of that one specifically with the Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln
makes no fucking sense.
It's so, and everyone talks about the original Planet of the Apes and how the end of that at the time was one of the most mind-blowing twists ever. And then you get to that one, which you can tell Tim Burton is trying for that same effect. And instead, everyone's like, "What?"
Instead, it's just funny and really, kind of made, like we said, the trailers for Rise didn't help, but it's at that point, this franchise that started out as social commentary was a joke, ooh, apes take over, it's funny. It's not serious anymore, and I think that's mostly because of the Tim Burton one and Abraham Lincoln.
Well, and because Rise of the Planet of the Apes looked like Deep Blue Sea. like that's the part everyone forgets is it kind of has a plot of Deep Blue Sea.
It does. Now you say that.
With the super intelligent sharks, and I love Deep Blue Sea. Deep Blue Sea is hilarious. Like Deep Blue Sea is such a fun movie. I think me and you, Justin, watched back when we lived together quite a few times on TV.
Yeah, it's because it was on the Bounce channel or whatever.
Yeah, it was on Bounce a lot.
It's a stupid fun movie. The fact that it's got 2 sequels, I don't know how that came out 20 years later. I don't know how.
Like Samuel Jackson making that really impassioned speech and then getting immediately eaten. They know what kind of movie they're making.
My favorite time in a movie theater was this is on a tangent, but Jurassic World, and all of a sudden the Dominus Rex is backing up to the water. I'm like, he's about to get Deep Blue Sea. He's about to get Deep Blue Sea, and then he does, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah, it's weird how many movies have taken from Deep Blue Sea of all things.
An influential film.
It's becoming one, and that's hilarious. That's amazing. This is the timeline we deserve to live in.
But getting back on topic, I mean, the old-timers angle to this was a really cool idea.
Well, do you guys know in the original timeline how the Planet of the Apes came to be?
No, I've only seen the first one.
That the humans destroyed each other, right? Through was it nuclear war? It was some kind of.
What happened was in the later movies, Cornelius and Xeros, the two main apes from the franchise, the ones that help Charlton Heston's character, go back in time with their son Caesar, and then Caesar in that time period creates the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
This is why the sequels are dumb.
Yeah, the sequels are dumb. The sequels are really bad, and in this trilogy of movies is how we should be making films, right? Is they're taking all the dumb parts of Planet of the Apes and making them awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it kind of as far as the canon, it kind of wipes out most. I don't know if it wipes out all of the sequel stuff to the original because there were 800 movies, but a lot of the dumb stuff from the sequels. I mean, the original does make references to Caesar, I think, right?
I think so.
I think I remember being references, but yeah, the sequel stuff kind of goes out the window, and you kind of create something more personal and grounded, and do something new with it.
Who wrote the screenplay to Rise? I'm gonna take a look here. Who wrote the screenplay? Written by Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver. I don't know those names. It looks like they are a husband-wife team.
Who wrote the other? He also wrote the other one.
Who wrote Jurassic World?
Probably on autopilot by then.
Came full circle here.
And Mulan and Avatar 2. That's hilarious, actually. So it wasn't a tangent, Justin.
Nope, came full circle somehow.
These people
totally
just really
intentional.
Like Blue Sea.
Totally intentional.
Wow. How did they go from writing really good scripts to writing really stupid scripts?
Someone must have came up and did some touch-up work.
Yeah, or money.
But Fox definitely loved Rise of the Planet of the Apes because they went full into the Apes franchise.
And we are better for it.
And that's, I think, why Rupert Wyatt left the sequel. It was because he was being rushed too fast. This is going to suck. Because apparently, I heard the scripts from that era for the movie were terrible. Mm-hmm. There was one apparently that they were gonna jump into the ape-led future.
Oh, that would have been a bad idea.
I've heard the term apes vaping a lot.
And it's also you could tell at the end of the first one that was the potential. You can see at the end of Rise a scenario where that's the last you see of Caesar. Honestly.
Yeah. No, agreed. You can tell that they made Rise as a standalone film.
Yeah, if need be. If they didn't make any money on it.
Because and that very end of Rise is so good.
Yeah, first off, the last scene with him and James Franco, Caesar is home, first word he says, and swings away. But then also the infection thing and seeing the whole world as the credits go falling.
Yeah, was
very realistic. Very realistic.
Yeah, it was a mind-blowing part. Well, and that whole going back to Rise as a movie, the third act of Rise is so good. Mm-hmm. From the apes breaking out of the ape pen, Caesar saying no at Tom Felton.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
You see this gradual buildup, and that's what makes the writing so good. You don't just get apes right away. You see this kind of this momentum building very slowly.
Yeah, it's perfectly paid. Like the structure is perfect because the third act feels like a whole different movie. Like, and that's because of the time it took to build up, and then it just like blows up.
And the difference is how it was marketed and how the end actually is. Because how it was marketed as apes break out, apes take over, humans better run. In reality, the end of the movie is the apes trying to escape and the humans trying to keep them in captivity. It's a completely different tone.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem with the marketing. They market it as them taking over action.
Like a disaster movie.
Yeah. Where it's actually not. It's more of a cerebral showing the growth of the apes to where they become at the end.
And you were rooting for the apes, which you didn't think that actually would be, but you are. Because it's such it's a small buildup, right? It's not like this kind of what we're used to now of just everything having to be in one movie.
Yeah, we didn't get the montage at the beginning of the movie showing the entire backstory to then right into this part right here where the conflict started.
Yeah, like you don't really see this a lot anymore of the first movie that is both a first in a series but also standalone. Like them thinking one movie at a time versus 8 at once.
Right. Now it would be they already have the tease for Dawn, and Coba's already in this movie, and we've got 8 other spin-offs ready to go.
We get a James Franco spin-off. He died. Never mind. Maybe a general spin-off.
Called Survive. The guy who dies on the bridge. Well, I also just remember Coba is in this movie, just barely. But the guy who's in the helicopter who dies would magically survive, and he would be a bad guy again.
With like a bionic arm or something.
That's such a good scene when they drop that guy off the fucking helicopter into the bridge.
Yeah,
you just get that long take of the helicopter just tumbling down.
And all of a sudden,
where he's hoping it's one of the other apes to help him out, and it's Coba, and he's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah. And he sees Coba and goes, "Oh shit."
Well, that's where kind of like it helps lead into Dawn a little bit, probably unintentional or whatever. But just like Caesar's like he's not gonna kill him, but he won't save him either, and walks away. And then you just got Coba just like, "Yep, fuck you, buddy."
And that's like what good writing does. Like even that's just like what fits best for this movie. But then the second one's also well written because even though, like we had said, they had thought about just jumping ahead and skipping all these characters, but they're like, okay, we have Coba established as someone who would do this. We're gonna play with that and build off of that and make like a whole character, make him a big part of the second one.
It lays the seeds so that way the sequels could actually, because like someone like Coba in the first one seems like a throwaway almost, right? Like a cliche. You have Caesar, who's the raised by humans, loved monkey, and then you have Coba, who is like the one that was abused as a test sample.
Mm-hmm.
But what Dawn does with those characters and their relationships is so clever and unexpected, in my opinion.
Well, it also does a great job of building other relationships with Caesar and like Rocket and Maurice.
Maurice is the GOAT.
Well, I think people mistake, like, when people think, like, great writing, especially, like, continuous like this, they think that it's all just planned out ahead of time, when most of the time to work out best, it's really not. You just make the best story you can at the time, and then the good writing is there, and you pick up what pieces are there and continue them. So, like, I highly doubt they plan on having Coba be, like, this main villain for a movie, and then his shadow to kind of still be there in the third one, but they pick up what's there and make like a complex dynamic out of it.
Mm-hmm. Because in a lot of ways, Coba's right. That's what makes Coba a good villain, is that from Coba's perspective, you can see where he's coming from.
Coba, good villain. Caesar, no leader.
Well, they have a very similar dynamic to like Professor X and Magneto.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's essentially what their characters are.
So for context, we're talking about Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. It's the 2014 sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which takes place like 8 years later. It's 8 years later. Caesar's
so.
now in isolation. Humanity's all but wiped out. And an amazing opening scene.
Yeah, I mean, rewatching that and the end of Rise is kind of like, this day and age is kind of like, wow, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, that's such a strong visual opening. Like, sets the tone perfectly. And yeah, it's like sets up, this is kind of a whole different tone. This is a much different film.
It's a very different film.
I mean,
it's dark.
I mean, the first word's not even like spoken till like 20 minutes in.
And you get that amazing Caesar dynamic where Caesar in this one is isolationist. He's trying to just avoid humans in general. He's basically a neutral party. He's letting them wipe themselves out and just kind of running his own little tribe.
Got like the written on the wall, the ape commandments or whatever.
Yeah, it's ape no kill ape. Apes together strong.
And that fact that they have this settlement, he's taught them how to like communicate. Yeah, and they're kind of all teaching each other how to communicate. And yeah, they're just kind of content until, of course, humans run into them.
Putting on the war paint to hunt.
I would love to be present on the set for this movie and seeing all of the actors in their mocap suits sitting around like a fire pretending to be monkeys. Because that's what it is. Because it's all mocap, so it's all humans going hoo, 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 in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not like to go from 2001 and also the original Planet of the Apes. Like 2001 was like the mimes and the suits, and then the original was like prosthetics, and then fast forward to now where it's them in like the mocap suits and the dots with the light things in front of their face dancing around like apes.
And they look great. Like Dawn,
yeah, it looks really good. Yeah,
Dawn looks better than Rise. Rise, the mocap hasn't aged amazingly. Dawn and War still look really good.
Yeah, like I remember the teaser for War of the Planet of the Apes. They just had Andy Serkis's face just slowly morph into Caesar's, and you're like, we have come a long way.
Well, it's also because if you look at Dawn and Rise, most of the ape scenes take place in the dark.
Yeah,
or like overcast.
Mm-hmm.
Versus Rise, where it's all in daylight, so it's harder to make the mocap look good or great.
Yeah.
Well, and it's something too that's interesting about these movies, because we complain about bad CGI a lot, and these have a ton of CGI. What makes these work? Well, like mocap work and creature work is very good, and this helped push the boundaries further on them. I mean, everything Andy Serkis is in does. It's also, I mean, it's set work, it's location work. They're just mocap apes. I mean, if you look at like we talked about the forest scene, behind the scenes of the forest scene, they're in a forest. It's just Andy Serkis in a gray dotted costume in a forest.
But that's the important thing, right? Like it's CGI characters in real environments.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like the ape home is like a real constructed place. I mean, they have blue screen behind it for the background of the environment, but the ape settlement is like a set.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like a Snyder movie where it's like a couple real props and then just in a green box.
Yeah.
And that helps, like, why do they feel so human? It feels more authentic. Besides the visuals look good, like there's real environments, and then you get the real people and they look real next to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they play off each other better because they're not talking to a green ball on a stick. They're talking to Andy Serkis, who is pretending to be a monkey, but it takes some time getting used to, I think.
But I feel like he's so good that it does it because he's like giving his all, right?
Right.
Yeah, you definitely take it seriously, and everybody else is great too.
Yeah, it has some of the best mocap work, like acting wise, of like that mocap cast of people that have gone on to become like notable mocap actors. It's not just Andy Serkis. You have Terry Notary, Toby Kebbell as Coba. At least I don't think Toby Kebbell is Coba in Rise, but he's Coba in Dawn.
Yeah, he's in Dawn. Not
Judy
Rise.
Greer randomly shows up in mocap, but you see it work, and it kind of started the whole mocap boom that we haven't seen really at this level. I mean, Fox is trying. They had, was it Call of the Wild, which had the mocap dog.
Woof.
That was played by that.
Right. The one with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, with Harrison Ford and Terry Notary as the dog, which I want the mocap free dog cut. Where it's Harrison Ford and a grown ass man pretending to be a dog.
That's gotta be the weird.
Just his face. What the fuck?
But this movie works, and then you have the human characters of this one. So the plot kind of kicks off when Caesar's group runs into a group of surviving humans that features Jason Clarke as, I don't know his name, I think it's Owen.
Malcolm.
As Jason Clarke.
Malcolm. It's some generic white dude name. And then you have Kerry Russell, who's with them, Cody Smith McPhee as their awkward, weird kid. And of course, Gary Oldman as the leader of this human settlement.
Who's not in it as much as the trailers would make you think.
Yeah,
Well, 'cause
it's very good. His role in it is very good.
Well, because it's the subversion of expectations, right?
Right.
Which this is how you subvert expectations, is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Because I remember in the marketing, it made it very much seem like the plot was going to be Gary Oldman as the main villain trying to go after Caesar, and that is very much not the case.
Right, and it still looked really good this time. This time the marketing was very good, and yet you still got something different than you expected in a good way. But it also made it look good in the first place this time.
Yeah. Oh, the marketing was fantastic. I was so hyped for this movie. I couldn't see it opening weekend because I've helped my family like re-cement a I think a wood fire stove. Like Coba, I wanted to go so bad, and when I did, I was blown. I think I saw this movie 3 times in theaters.
Damn.
I saw it twice.
I love Dawn.
I saw it.
absolutely love Dawn of the Apes.
I saw it opening weekend.
It is a phenomenal movie, in my opinion. I love this movie. It is so damn exciting. When the plot eventually builds, like I said, it's versus expectations. It's because Coba tries to kill Caesar, blames it on the humans, and starts a war between the humans and the apes.
But what really sets Coba as like a good villain is like the beginning of this movie when they're hunting or whatever, and Caesar and his son get trapped by the bear, and Coba comes to save them. It's like, had Coba not seen the humans again, none of this probably happens. Like, he doesn't try to take over Caesar. Like, he's integrated with them. He's their brother.
Right. It's based on their difference with this very big issue that causes conflict, which, is like parallels human conflicts, right? Like, it's very much representative of, their culture, society kind of tearing itself apart because of the difference between them.
Coba has seen the horrors that man can do and doesn't want it to happen again. And his answer is subjugation and genocide, whereas Caesar's is peace.
Mm-hmm.
And
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, the one thing, because I know you guys are I do love this movie. You guys are definitely higher on it than me. And the one thing I have, which is what you already said about the first one, is I do think the 2 main human characters in this movie are pretty weak.
Yes, I would agree.
And this one, it matters less because you have the whole ape dynamic. That's the center of it. But I do think at times the Gary Oldman stuff is underutilized, and then the 2 main humans don't have that much to them, but it makes up for it with Caesar and Coba and that whole complex dynamic, and then like visually is incredible.
I don't know how you would do it, but I even thought this at the time, that Gary Oldman's character should have been the main human character.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would do that in the story, because I agree with you that Jason Clarke and Kerry Russell's characters are pretty weak.
Mm-hmm.
And basically only seem to be there to just move the story along.
But in a movie called Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, you want the apes to be the center of attention.
Right, and that part works perfectly.
Yeah, because Gary Oldman's character is like the last human leader trying to maintain some form of society and struggling, right? Because the whole plot of the movie is humans just want to like get like a generator back up and going.
Yeah, they're trying to get power back into the city so they can live easier.
Yeah, and they need Caesar's help to get there. Otherwise, like they said, the last remaining human society is basically going to collapse.
Because I think it could be. I mean, this would be a much different movie. I think it would be interesting if the human leader also wanted peace.
Yep.
But Coba just fucks everything up, and there could be also someone on the human side who also wants to fuck things up.
Well, I mean, for the most part, Gary Oldman did want peace.
Yeah, he's just very mistrusting of the apes and is kind of looking for an excuse a little bit.
Well, when think about his first interaction with the ape is they're marching down into his town on horseback right in front of him with the army. That's his first interaction with them. You don't think he's like, oh shit, we're screwed.
Well, you have Kirk Acevedo's character, who's the one that I believe shoots Caesar's son.
I think it was Rocket's son, but yeah.
Rocket's son? Yeah, well, okay, it was Rocket's son. It was one of them. And Rocket, it still respects Caesar. But you get that dynamic But what the subversion is because they want you to believe that guy is going to be the one that starts the war. No, Coba uses him to start the war.
Yep, he's the fall guy.
The perfect like way to do it is to have Coba do it.
Yeah, it is. It's the perfect way to do it, which leads to a part I was going to get to earlier, which is Coba's assault on the human settlement, which is one of the most amazing action sequences I've ever seen.
The tanks.
It's so good. I love it so much. It's so thrilling. It's intense. It's fun. You have the tanks. You have just the monkeys on horseback. Koba's dually machine guns.
Everybody wanted. Once in the trailer we saw monkeys on horses with machine guns. We were like, yes.
It does not disappoint because it's a long sequence.
Oh yeah, it goes on way longer than you'd think it would.
Yeah.
I love that part. The part that always gets me is that scene where like Caesar's son, who's a I think an underrated character in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Caesar's son, who's kind of torn between Coba and Caesar's points of view.
The problem is I think he idolizes Coba and doesn't want to listen to his dad, but then all of a sudden he sees what Coba really is, and he's just kind of like, I screwed up.
Well, it's because Coba's the cool uncle and Caesar's the strict dad.
Yeah.
Until the cool uncle's conspiracy theories end up getting him to lead a war.
Well, because I understand there's an amazing scene where Coba is on the horse with two machine guns, and he rides by Caesar's son. I believe Blue Eyes is his name.
Yeah.
Rides by Blue Eyes, and like his friends, they're got like hit by like a tank shell. He goes rah, and runs like right past them, and they like stare at like what the hell is going on.
Then he gets on the tank, and then the camera just stays on the tank as it spins around, and you just see all the destruction going on.
On the tank is such a good shot. And then you get Coba taking over. Humans are going into cages. All of Caesar's allies are placed under arrest.
And anyone who questions Coba gets killed.
Yeah, and then the human characters team up with Blue Eyes, who's just kind of walking around and is kind of like a broken person until they realize that Caesar's alive. Which gives us the amazing Caesar-Coba fight.
Yeah, that was very good.
Which was preluded by the fight in the dam or whatever where Caesar just beats the living shit out of Coba.
Caesar is weak, Coba weaker.
Because that's the thing about Coba that, again, they do something different with it, is that, like, physically he is actually much weaker than Caesar. But he's also very smart and very sneaky and, like, willing to do anything. So that's what makes him a good adversary. It's not just like, oh, I'm you, but evil.
That's basically...
Or, like, I'm you, but stronger and evil, and you win by the power of goodness. He's, like, weaker, but smart, like, at times smarter.
Well, basically, that's what Caesar's kind of calling out, is he's weaker because he has to use man's machines, such as guns and everything, to take command. He can't win up in a straight battle.
Right, but he's got that, like, sneaky mentality. Like, he's very intelligent in that way, and, like, scheming and kind of setting things up.
Yeah, he's a strategist because he knows that he doesn't have people on his side, so he has to make them on his side and then fight with that. He lacks brute strength, so he has to be, like, more savage than Caesar on all fronts.
But I think too, this is the one that, like, with all, like, the layers of complexity to it, is the most like the original, just in terms of, like, complexity. I mean, they're very different movies, but, like, kind of the character dynamics remind me a little bit of the first one.
Yes.
As in the original.
Yes, I know. I would agree. Like, we're getting to that point of where the monkey society is forming and the hierarchies are starting to form too, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's a kind of taking a tangent on back to the first one, the original. That's like one of the big parts of that movie is like apes are equal, yet the ape society is very hierarchical.
Yeah, and they disagree on humans, which is like starts in this movie.
Yeah, but you have humans are like this, or like the what's the term? Livestock, essentially. Gorillas are the soldiers. Orangutans are the scientists and intellectuals and leaders, and chimps and apes are just kind of there. Mm-hmm. Which, since we're on this topic, I should say, I love them. Planet of the Apes, the OG ones, much as we're talking about how much we love these ones, nothing will beat, in my opinion, the original Planet of the Apes.
Oh, I completely agree. Like, as excellent as these movies are, like the original is like an all-time great movie. That's like so complex. So, like it gets tension out of like all of those debates about what's happening, and like there's that tension of like trying to find out what's happening, and it's just like very inventive, very well made and crafted film, and very, very, very complex.
Mm-hmm. It's
like
all good sci-fi from that era. It's got lots of political allegory squeezed into a very fun story.
Yeah, and I always forget the script is written by Rod Serling, and it does feel almost like the ending definitely feels like a Twilight Zone episode.
Well, I will say that the makeup effects, visuals haven't really aged the greatest, but the script and the performances, -1.
Hey, he is exactly what the movie needed.
So it sells the movie forward because I mean it gets right into it. You have them go to space, and then they're on Monkey Planet with that. What do they call it? It's something like a purge, but it's they join up with the other humans, like the wild feral humans.
Where they like go on the hunt and just like shoot all those people.
Yeah, and then bag up a bunch of them. They kill a bunch of them and then like net up the rest. It's a fantastic sequence.
But the set work is amazing in that movie.
The set work is phenomenal. That's not being touched.
And they make Charlton Heston unable to speak for like 20 minutes until he says the amazing line.
Oh, amazing line.
Yes.
I mean, it gets quoted quite a bit.
Not necessarily as a good thing. Like, and the line, of course, we're talking about is the one we all know, right? Get your hands off, or is it paws?
Get your paws off me, you damn dirty ape.
Paws off me, you damn dirty ape. Which we all know. And I feel like sometimes that line is said like ironically, like when they put it into Rise, when Tom Felton says it.
That's kind of, it's kind of cringy when he says it.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
And that's because Charlton Heston is a good actor.
You made all the Harry Potter fans really pissed.
Yeah, fight me.
But I guess for context, me and Alex have been fighting over whether or not Charlton Heston is a good actor for years. It's like it's a debate that will not end until one of us dies.
Or until you see Ben-Hur.
Even then, like...
You would still say the same thing, probably.
Well, yeah. Well, you know why I'm not a fan of Charlton Heston. I don't think he's a terrible actor, but he very much is cheesy and corny, especially in Planet of the Apes.
But it's that good cheese.
I agree with you that he is in love with what the movie needs at times.
Yeah, it kind of needs like that center presence that like just like when he's on screen, he always like commands the scene basically, and it needs that to push like the human story forward. And like, okay, you have all these other random human characters, and then there's this dude who's like the dude.
Yep, he's the dude. We all know the plot.
With the apes, the guy who's like gonna like stand up.
Because we all know Planet of the Apes, the plot, right? Humans crash land on a monkey planet. They try to escape. Or Charlton Heston's the only one that's alive enough to escape. Mm-hmm. Goes on this big quest, finds out that he's actually on Earth in the future. We all know that plot.
Mind's
and I feel like
blown.
it's kind of memed to death a little bit. And I think that underplays just how good it really is.
Yeah, it's one of those that, because it's so classic, it's been referenced so many times and memed so many times that, like, its effectiveness, like, it's an amazing movie.
Yeah, people see it as a joke, not just because of how, like, it's used as a joke, but because of just how many sequels they made and how terrible most of them are.
Isn't there, like, 6 sequels or something like that?
There's a lot, and they're all not nearly as good. I think the second one, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, isn't terrible, but for sure the ones came after that are not good at all.
Oh, there's only 5. Okay. Beneath, Escape, Conquest, and Battle for.
And anything after Beneath is regarded as pretty bad. I know Battle, which essentially Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is Battle for the Planet of the Apes. Battle for the Planet of the Apes is regarded as a terrible movie. And there's that weird TV show too. It was a franchise that kind of like a lot of franchises from this time, and just in general, the ones that start out like Your First Bloods, RoboCops, the movies that start out with actual like themes and meanings that get diluted for fun, weird camping action.
How can we take this super serious movie and turn it into something crazy and fun? Sequels. Lots and lots of sequels.
Like OG Planet of the Apes is like, it's about like racism and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it hits deep. And it's good.
Yeah.
I have to see these sequels. I'm kind of curious how bad they really are.
I've avoided them. I've just watched the OG.
I've always wanted to, especially because I read the Planet of the Apes comics that Boom did that are really good. They made a whole prequel series that is about the OG timeline. So it's basically about ape society and almost like this apocalypse that happens before Taylor shows up in the first movie. And it kind of sets up the political struggles that Taylor walks into. They're really good. But there's stuff that's in the sequels that's in these comics that like I think the sequels have like humans that survive underground and are now telepathic.
Yeah, and there's the time travel shit. I did read a little bit what happens after I watched the first one, just because I realized, Charlton Heston's in like at least one of these sequels that I was reading what happens. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to watch this.
It's batshit insane. The sequels are crazy, and not in a good way. Like, they tried to stay grounded, which I think is what they did with the prequel trilogy that they did, this past decade, is try and keep things somewhat grounded, increase the stakes, and get to the weird part without getting super weird.
Mm-hmm.
I think the OG does is like, you have this crazy ape planet, but then you learn like how it works, and you keep it very much focused on like the happenings of him trying to find out and trying to prove that he's intelligent.
Looks like
there's something that like why you can say that the twist ending of that movie, that they're on planet Earth and they've been kind of keeping that secret from everyone that they're on Earth and that humans came before them. Why that's like the worst part of the series is because now everything after that has been a lot of ways trying to explain how Earth became ape world.
Yeah.
When that's not the point of the story.
Yeah.
Like that's not what the story they're trying to tell even is. It's about Ape World as Ape World, not how Ape World became Ape World. But I do think that Dawn of Planet of the Apes and the others have done their best to kind of keep everything straight. Because Matt Reeves, Batman director, came in, and he was, to me, the saving grace for this series. His direction is so good.
Yeah, it's very easy to see a world where someone else directs these ones, and it's like, oh, that one was good, and then all the sequels sucked. And I do think, it's the difference besides the script still being good. It's the direction. I mean, visually, it's incredible. The action scenes are really well directed, and like, there's just like a sense of purpose and pace and control to like all of it that his direction brings.
And then there was.
I almost feel like this is one of those movies that, for a good movie, gets such a bad rap. Like, it is, to me, it's still accurate. It's a good.
That's the most accurate thing I've ever heard about this movie.
The problem is it's not actually.
And it's like, it's still a good movie.
Well, the problem is Justin, I think you're going to say the same thing.
It's not a war movie.
It's not a war movie.
Very true.
It's Escape or whatever.
Which, to be fair, the titles for these movies are all messed up.
Yes.
Like, Rise should be called Dawn. Dawn should be called Rise.
And War should be called something else.
Yeah.
Internment camp of the Planet of the Apes.
Concentration camp of the Planet of the Apes.
That just doesn't roll off the tongue quite as much. I love how even fans call out like the titles should be flip-flopped, and then in War, Matt Reeves starts like the rise of this and then the dawn, like to make it make sense to everybody else.
Or you can just accept that you guys bungled the titles.
The names, yeah.
But I do think, besides like the fact that it's not a war, like the central problem of it, I will admit, is that at times it feels like going over the same ground Dawn did, where like, I mean, the plot is still really complex, the characters are still really complex. I think it spends too much time dwelling on Dawn and doing the slow burn again, which again does work to an extent, but it's like too much build. It's too slow.
Well, I agree with you, especially with the fact that Dawn actually built to something. Dawn built to this crazy, insane third act that was this massive action sequence, which just chain reacted into action after action after action for like the back 45 minutes of the movie. War keeps building and building and building into a conflict between two groups of humans.
And they both get taken out by an avalanche.
Yeah. The back half of the movie is just humans fighting each other as Caesar Caesar and the apes just kind of watch off from the distance. Not even part of the movie anymore.
Yeah, and I think it needed to get to the part where they're in the camp sooner, even if it's afraid that looks too much like the first movie, the original movie, because actually that's an asset, not a problem. Because you can make the comparison, right? Them being like, in the camp is kind of like the original movie with Charlton Heston, but they don't get to that part quickly enough. And Woody Harrelson is a really interesting character in the movie for 2 scenes.
Yeah, the whole movie, people that haven't seen it, because I feel like a lot of people have seen this one and they have Dawn. Caesar's family is murdered by Woody Harrelson's military troop, because there is a war going on for the first 10 minutes of the movie between the apes and the humans after the end of Dawn. And Caesar's family is killed, the apes are kidnapped, and Caesar and some of the supporting characters have to go on some like Apocalypse Now type quest. And what sucks for me is that with Woody Harrelson's character, like you said, Alex, great character, give Caesar good motivation. You actually have motivation for Caesar to go down a darker path and bring us closer to the original movies, and the movie is too afraid to actually do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it kind of like, one of my criticisms with like Dawn was like the final battle between Coba and Caesar. I thought they were going to go more like have Blue Eyes kind of take over, and then they just kind of used him to kill him off in this movie.
Yeah, Blue Eyes is in for 30 seconds.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I found this place, and I die that night.
Yeah, like I think killing Blue Eyes is still like a good choice and as motivation. It shouldn't have happened that quickly.
I think you could have just killed off his wife, and he'd still be pissed. I think he could have kept Blue Eyes.
To me, Blue Eyes' death needed to be like a second act turning point.
Yeah, it felt too early.
Yeah, to really make him go down a darker path. But then, they didn't, like you said, they didn't kind of go down the darker path enough. Like, he does kind of murder some people, but that's kind of it. And then he's fine by the end.
Well, he killed Nova's dad in cold blood.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Oh shoot, I killed her dad. I'm no better
I'm the monster.
I'm no better than Woody Harrelson now."
And more Woody Harrelson, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Woody Harrelson basically comes down, goes awesome with people, and then just leaves for the majority of the movie.
It's like, yep, I came to kill the ape, and now I'm heading to the snowy part of this place for some reason.
See in the third act. And then you get the gorilla that has that dramatic death where it's we just met this dude.
Yeah, every new movie gets a new gorilla as their sidekick.
Who dies?
I will say what really, really works well in this movie is the stuff with Nova. Even though we've said it could be better, Caesar's arc works really well and kind of comes to a 3-movie conclusion in a his arc concludes in a satisfying way.
I would agree.
Also, yeah, again, there's not.
I don't know. I think Caesar could have died off a better way than he did.
Right, but I mean, just his art, the path of it,
Yeah, the path is good. The execution, I was it could have been a little better.
And there's interesting conflicts. I do like them being in the camp is kind of interesting dynamic, and there's enough tension there. I do agree the avalanche is kind of dumb, but the dynamic with him and Woody Harrelson when it's there is really good.
Well, it's such an anticlimactic finale to me.
Is it a bad one? No, but it's definitely anticlimactic.
It does some cool stuff. I feel it's intentionally anticlimactic. I feel that was Matt Reeves' big mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because he was trying to show that the humans would still always fight each other and it would go, and would kill each other. And then, of course, you have the virus that mutates, and now it's making everyone mute.
Well, it's basically turning them into apes because it's not only muting them, but also cognitively they're declining.
Yeah, it's which is really interesting.
Yeah, that's really good.
Well, which also leads pretty well into the original Planet of the Apes, where the humans were
livestock, basically.
Yeah.
Wild animals.
It explains so much.
But it could explain it in a much better way.
Yes.
We didn't need it to go the way it did, because it feels like in a lot of ways Matt Reeves was trying to make Apocalypse Now with monkeys. And
Apocalypse Now?
Yeah, Apocalypse Now. And I don't think it really worked as well as he hoped it would. would.
Actually, I kind of see some of the parallels to how he's like on the hunt for this kernel or whatever. But like the reason Apocalypse Now works is because of how like crazy and mental and disturbing it gets. And then like if you're gonna have the villain show up for such a short period of time, it's got to be like for a reason. Like there's that mystery behind him in Apocalypse Now, and then like he's got to make a big fucking impression. Like Marlon Brando, he's got to really make that mark.
And he doesn't.
Right. He's
However,
like, oh, that's an interesting character. Oh, he's gone now.
However, the standout character to me, who was annoying in marketing but awesome in the movie, is Steve Zahn's Bad Ape.
I know. Talk about a character you thought you were gonna hate, but actually turned out to be actually really good. Like he had a chance to like be the Jar Jar Binks of Planet of the Apes.
Instead, he shows up in the hat when they're gonna go on the quest, and he comes in the hat and the vest, and it's just like, I'm ready to go, guys. And see him like in the poster where it's all like the apes ready to fight, and he's in the stupid hat still. And you do get some interesting dynamics with the Ape Society of like the one gorilla that like betrays them.
Yeah, the guys call them donkeys or whatever because they were all under Coba, and then like you wouldn't trust us or whatever, but never even tried.
There's some interesting stuff there. Honestly, they almost needed 2 movies to end the series instead of one. Mm-hmm. But it's not a bad movie. I agree with Alex. It is weird to see a really good movie get flack for not being good enough.
Well, I mean, that's what happens when you come off of Dawn.
It is like, yeah, it's honestly, it's not, I'll compare it to 2 movies. One is probably a closer comparison, the second one. But while obviously the first 2 aren't as good as these, it is like Godfather 3 syndrome, because that's a pretty good movie. But like, it's
you
not
just made
Godfather.
Lots of dads very angry.
I know I did, but what everybody complains about is Godfather 3 is a couple of really specific things. Everything else is good. It's just not a necessary movie, which is where it differs here. I do think maybe the closer comp is Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Because Dark Knight Rises to me is a great movie, but it receives almost nothing but flack these days.
Or are you gonna make me say it? Last Jedi.
Which one?
It's like Last Jedi to me, in the sense of it tried to subvert expectations and wasn't entirely successful.
This movie's good.
But also that. It's more entertaining and more... It doesn't completely go off the grid like Last Jedi tried to.
I think this would work better had we actually gotten like a battle with the apes at the end.
Yes.
I think that's all this film's really missing is a battle between apes and humans. Because that's what we thought we were going to get. It's what I went in expecting.
What it really needed was so the humans, right? Because that's the whole big turning point is the Colonel by Woody Harrelson. His character has like the human like extremist army basically, and then he's at war with like the actual U.S. military. Yeah,
because they think he's gone rogue because he's killing all these people that are getting the virus and slowly losing their mental capacity. Yeah.
He's basically gone on a killing spree, and so they go try and stop him, which is amazing because it's revealed in the movie that Woody Harrelson killed Jason Clarke's character, which is such a subtle thing, but it's so well done.
Yeah, that really adds a lot to him. But I think it's just as simple as the other army shows up, they're gonna kill the apes so that they don't, get infected, because like all these apes are there and they could get infected, and then so the apes kill them and survive.
Well, what I was gonna say is you get the battle between the 2 human groups, and they're all kind of beaten and battered. Then you have the apes basically see them weaken, and you get the battle at that point.
Right, just like something is whatever it is. Just instead of the avalanche, the apes just finish off the humans after the humans fight each other.
Mm-hmm. And that could be good for Caesar's growth because Caesar doesn't want to, but the humans make him.
Yeah.
You basically have where Caesar wants to just be done with it, but the humans don't want to be done with it.
Well, like even at the beginning, after the first kind of skirmish, and he lets those guys go, he's like, "Tell your commander, it's like I want peace. I don't want to fight." And then
leave Me alone.
I mean, the whole trilogy is basically like Caesar just wants to live happily and doesn't want to fight with anybody. But
He's
they
just trying to like just sit at home with his kids.
watch sticks hit each other.
Yeah, just trying to be a dad, and all of a sudden he's in like several different wars. Bro, I'm just here, man. Leave me alone. But it kind of talks all about like the politics angle, right? That the original had. We have here, which is humans looking for something to blame. You know, the whole simian flu thing, when the apes didn't really have much to do with it.
Yeah.
But it's the humans. Humans like to blame things that aren't them.
Yeah.
It's never our fault.
And yeah, they're grasping at straws at that point, looking for something to blame, and answers as like it's all about to end. And then, you know, there are really interesting things in this script. I do think it's reasonably well written.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there are just some decisions that were made. Not saying that they always have to please fans, but there's decisions that were made that they had to know that people weren't going to be happy with.
I mean, I love them being in the snow aesthetic. That looks great.
That was a great choice.
Yeah, visually to me, and like in terms of like the sets and the visuals and stuff, I think it's the best looking one for sure. Because yeah, it's, you know, Matt Reeves. Yeah, he's got one under his belt. He goes again, and it, you know, visually it looks even better.
And it looks good. The whole Nova plot is really well done. It's a good movie. Is it a great movie? No, it's probably the weakest of the three, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the weakest to me. I'll still stand by it as a good movie, but I will admit, like when I went to see it, I left and I was like, yeah, that was good, but I did feel like there was a little bit of that letdown, and then it's like I wasn't like running out, jumping, telling people to see it, but it's.
I mean, the most apt comparison we made was basically to Nolan's Batman trilogy. It's like the first two are like the first one is good story wise, they could put a little more money into it to make it look better. The second one is the cream of the crop, gets everything good, and the last one is just kind of like a underwhelming but yet good movie.
It's almost like in both cases, the directors didn't want to just completely retread old ground and to try to do something new, and it wasn't as successful. Because it's almost like Matt Reeves didn't want to even attempt to
do a war movie.
Well, no, he didn't want to even attempt to top or redo the fight between the humans and the apes and Dawn.
Yeah.
It's like he knew he couldn't either top it or do something different enough where people aren't gonna complain, this is just Dawn again. But is what he did the right call? I don't know.
I will say I'll certainly take it compared to other franchise or series finishes recently.
But true, right? Like,
I will agree.
It was good. Although comparatively, I will say that like I've seen Rise. I didn't see it in theaters, but I've seen it multiple times at home. I saw Dawn 3 times in theaters and multiple times on Blu-ray. I've seen War once.
Yep, same thing. I've seen Rise like 3 or 4 times. I've seen Dawn twice, I think, and I've seen War once. And I own it. I don't even think I've watched the Blu-ray.
I also own War. It is still in the plastic wrap.
I think I've seen War like 3 times.
That's impressive, actually. I want to rewatch them. Like, I want to rewatch all of them in a row because I do love them. And actually, kind of a weird tangent, but I just thought of this. As much as like me and Justin have argued about Michael Giacchino a few times. About is he really that good? His soundtrack and score for Dawn and War are so good. Like, because the OG movie has like that really interesting, weird sound to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of times like up kind of like hopeful at times, and then gets like a little darker.
Well, it has that weird percussion in it.
Yeah,
and he recaptured that. Like the whole like soundtrack for Dawn just sounds so good.
Yeah, Giacchino, sometimes he's either hit or miss. Like I did not care for his Rogue One score. But
a lot of the scores just sound so derivative. Mm-hmm. Like his Batman score has come out, and that doesn't sound that great.
I haven't even listened to it yet.
I'll wait for it in context of the movie itself. But from what I've heard, it's like the trailer sounds, not the full Nirvana song, but it's that bum 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 bum. Yeah. Like that we see it, which is like okay, right? But like Batman has some of the best soundtracks for any movies ever, like in all of them.
Yeah.
Whether it's the Danny Elfman theme or the Hans Zimmer theme, like they're both really good.
Yeah.
So that's a lot to live up to. Now there apparently is another Planet of the Apes movie coming out that Disney is working on.
Well, I'll see you all in therapy.
I don't know if it's gonna be attached to this, but it's directed by Wes Ball, supposedly, who did the Maze Runner movies.
Yeah, it's a no for me, dog.
It could be good. It could be good. He was doing Mouse Guard before that got canceled by Disney.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, to be fair, what else did Rupert Wyatt do?
Rupert Wyatt has done nothing since. He keeps joining stuff and leaving because he did The Gambler, which is terrible, and then he went and was attached to Gambit, quit that, was attached to, I think, the Halo series, and then quit that.
He's gotten paid for some nice attachments. Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, he's been attached to a bunch of stuff that he hasn't done. He's making that Guillermo del Toro money.
It's so weird to think that Matt Reeves directed Cloverfield.
It is. It doesn't really feel like his other stuff. I still haven't seen the OG Cloverfield. I've seen the sequels.
I haven't seen any.
10 Cloverfield Lane is great. That is a great movie.
Well, all I hear is it's great until it turns into a Cloverfield movie.
Kind of also that.
That's the weird, industry thing. This is weirdly the same path every Die Hard movie until the really bad last one had. But no Cloverfield movie after the first one was going to be a Cloverfield movie.
Yeah.
Which is more obvious than those. They just throw it in. But it was the same thing. Yeah, every Die Hard movie was not going to be a Die Hard movie.
It was like when they were filming the Cloverfield movie, like, well, this could be a Cloverfield movie. Add in these 3 scenes and now it's Cloverfield. What I think part of it was so they'd make money.
And Matt Reeves is like, oh, a check? What's this for? Well, we made this movie into a Cloverfield movie, so you get money. Okay.
Wasn't the last one released on Netflix right after the Super Bowl or whatever?
Yeah, it was a terrible movie. So Netflix did the smart business decision and did a special release on Super Bowl Sunday after the Super Bowl to try and get hype. There was no trailer even out.
I think the trailer was on the Super Bowl. They're like, hey, watch this movie after the Super Bowl. And everyone's like, wait, what?
Yeah, everyone got hyped until they realized it's probably because the movie's garbage. And lo and behold, the movie was garbage.
We haven't even talked about since that was happening, because that was so many years ago. But we talked about it at the time, oh, that was Netflix trying to become a big film destination. Will it work? I mean, I guess it worked.
The one time.
Because Netflix is still the dumping ground for everyone's trash. And
true, but they got them enough into the distribution game that they get awards films now.
Yeah, finally. Well, COVID helped.
Yeah.
Right, that definitely helped. But even for stuff like Roma was up for awards. They just didn't win.
But that was the big one because that's what the joke was. Is Netflix was people's trash dumping ground, and they tried to stop that, and they're somewhat successful.
Yeah,
because they still have tons of studios trash.
Yeah.
Although Amazon has kind of taken up more of that mantle with stuff like Tomorrow War and Hotel Transylvania 4 and that kind of stuff.
You can't out trash us.
No, now they're just trashing all kinds of animes with live action adaptations.
Yeah, they were just trash people's favorite shows.
Making all the weebs mad.
To be fair, I've seen clips of the Cowboy Bebop live action show, and that looks. I've seen a lot of the anime, and I've seen a little bit of the live action show just for comparison. I don't know what the hell they did, but I actually like Cowboy Bebop. And the Netflix show looks fan-made. And then they're doing One Piece. I don't know how the hell you even do One Piece live action.
You can't. I don't One Piece is my favorite anime thing. So it's I've always been against the live action because it's there's too much crazy shit in it to do it. I mean, so far the cast looks great. Other than that, it's I don't really have any hope for it.
One Piece also has 800 episodes.
No, it's over 1,000.
That's still. My point remains.
Oh, they're never going to get that far.
So we'll see. Well, then there's the Avatar show that they're doing, which is going to probably take place in high school.
Yeah, didn't all the creators leave for creative differences?
Yeah, they left, and then said as they're leaving, what you will see, we had nothing to do with. Which
That's me. I bet you're wondering how I got here. Dun, dun, dun. Let me take you back
to when we sold our soul to the devil.
Elements. Done. I've already made your intro credits, so just pay me now. I don't know enough about how to actually keep going, but
going back to Apes, I'm sure with Disney now in the driver's seat, we'll see, because Apes is one like the only series that Disney didn't do a complete slate on, because they killed everything except for Apes and Avatar.
yeah, I'm wondering if because that was in development, did they like take over the development or have they let that go as it was? I guess we'll find out when it comes out. Obviously, Avatar couldn't touch, or James Cameron would spend another $1 billion until they give him what he wants.
Yeah, but that's the important question. Is we're seeing what they're really working on? I think it was, at least at the time. I don't know if they've since been like, yeah, no, we don't like this, redo it. But Disney obviously wants to, I think, use the Ape franchise. At least we haven't heard anything about a Hulu show. At least they're gonna make an actual movie.
As long as they don't sing "I Want to Be Like You," I think we'll be okay.
Give us Apes Land at Disney World. That is what I want.
Honestly, yes. I would go there.
They were making, apparently, I think it was in Dubai. Fox was making a theme park. They're gonna have like a Springfield, a alien area. It was gonna have like an Apes water ride in like an ape encampment.
Are the apes walking around just going to be guys in like the what do we call it? What is it?
Guys in the motion capture suits.
Yeah, motion capture suits.
Don't worry. In 1 year, they will look great.
You can watch footage of your trip in a year.
But I would see that, and I would love to see them continue the whole Caesar storyline, like for like generations and stuff. You know, kind of continue down the path that they're going. I don't know if they will. I don't want to see a straight up remake of the original.
No.
Oh God. I'm just imagining. Yeah, you just put the image of Disney remaking the OG movie in my head, and
Well, the problem is in these movies they talked a lot about that spaceship in the first one, and like there was like in the third one or whatever, there was a lot of Easter eggs of the sky or something. I saw a lot of people pointing out.
This was the spaceship coming. You don't know. I hope not. Because I like what they're doing. I don't want an original. The original should stay the original. They tried making it with Tim Burton. It came out like crap. No one liked it.
If anything, just do more stories where the apes are slowly building their civilization again.
Ape society is cool. It's a cool concept.
Especially considering we could get more of the apes talking other than just Caesar.
And doing sign language.
yeah, the Caesar.
Run.
Or Nova.
I mean, I do like the sign language parts of it. I think that is actually really interesting to watch on screen.
Mm-hmm. It was really fun, and that's one of those little details that, like in War, when all of a sudden they start trying to sign to Bad Ape, and he's just like, "What are you guys doing? I don't understand what you're saying."
You're just talking English.
Like they're asking him questions, and he doesn't even realize they're asking him questions until Caesar asks him questions.
It's just like, wait, you can talk? Yeah, you guys can?
You can't sign?
Okay, so we know kind of what the future for Apes is, but the future of Matt Reeves is also Batman coming out March 5th. Guys, are you excited for Batman?
Oh yeah.
Yes and no. I mean,
Whoa!
I'm excited. Hear me out. I saw like the Batman Catwoman trailer, and I was kind of, I don't know, I was like kind of on the fence a little bit.
But that's your fault for watching more footage.
Yes, it is.
I guess that I have not watched that trailer, so I don't have any thoughts on it because
I'm pretty sure it's gonna be good, but I like to temper my expectations just a little bit because I don't want to go into like War and become out a little disappointed.
I know many people are skeptical about it because that movie to me looks like it's gonna be the most comic booky of any of the Batman movies so far, at least in the modern sense of what the comics are. But it looks like a breath of fresh air. I like Matt Reeves as a director.
Oh yeah, I'm intrigued considering it's supposed to be like 3 hours long. So
that's interesting. That's a part that everyone's kind of like, huh, okay.
Yeah, I feel like to me in this case, especially since it's the first one, it's not connected to any universe bullshit. I'm like, okay, there's probably going to be a good reason why it's that long. Mm-hmm. That for them to let him actually have the freedom to make like an almost 3 hour movie.
I just hope it's good.
Not sequel.
I just hope it's good and that Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson are on good terms.
Yeah.
Or at least good enough to make another good movie.
Yes.
I also hope
they make good stuff.
I also hope it's good enough for people who will stop talking about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He's gone. Save
because
us.
if it's not, people are going to go, I guess DC is not as good as Marvel again. Scott's got nothing on No Way Home. It happens every time. It happens with both fan bases.
Yeah.
They just have the artistic talent that Zack Snyder does.
They're going to be people that say that anyways, just to piss people off.
Yeah.
Fuck the Snyderverse.
Ben Affleck should definitely kill himself and drink himself to death to make a Batman movie.
I want Batman Beyond with Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck and George Clooney.
Actually, I know I made you be on a tangent, but from what I'm seeing, they're doing Batman Beyond, but it's the Batgirl movie.
Yeah.
Because Michael Keaton's in that movie as Batman.
Which that freaking suit looks awful.
Like no one's talking about the fact that Batgirl is probably Batman Beyond. Like no one's putting two and two together. It's like, huh, Michael Keaton's, because that was weird thing too, is that they were saying that the Batgirl movie was going to reveal who the definitive Bruce Wayne is in this going forward. And it's Michael Keaton.
Because at this point, he'll do whatever for a paycheck.
at this point, DC doesn't know what they're doing, so might as well have 3 Batmen going at once.
Yep.
Anyway, that's our thoughts on the Planet of the Apes series. I would ask what our definitive ranks are, but I think we already know them. Mine's 2-1. Mine's Dawn, Rise, War.
Same.
And Alex, I guess is yours probably Rise, Dawn, War.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of flip-floppy between Rise and Dawn, but for the sake of, the last time I watched it, I did have Rise above, so I will put Rise first.
Okay, so those are all definitive choices. We're hopeful for what comes next.
I mean, I can't argue with you putting Rise above Dawn too much.
Oh, no, that's a totally fair take. If you put War first, I kind of question it. But
then we got
Rise
some
first
explaining to do.
is a fair take. But those are our takes. Thank you guys for listening. We'll wrap it up now after talking about monkeys. At least we weren't signing at each other and doing the monkey talk. Like they were in the movie, which is unintentionally really funny at times. But we want to hear what you think about the Planet of the Apes movies. I know a lot of people don't like them as much as we do. I've seen these thoughts. If you're one of them, let us know. If you love them, let us know. We want to hear from you in the comments. Otherwise, if you like what you heard, subscribe. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're on all places to get podcasts. And of course, go on social media and let us know what you think. And follow us for all updates on future episodes. So for Alex and Justin, I'm David Yanis. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Idiot Plot, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Idiot Plot. You can find us on Spotify, Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get a notification every time we drop a new episode. Also, follow us on Facebook and Letterbox. The links are in the description.